Welcome, everyone, to the MMA Happy Hour. I am Kyle Anthony, your host. We're here. We have interviews, MMA banter, and betting advice. This week, UFC 295, massive card, which I will be at MSG, between Alex Pereira and Jiri Prochazka. An awesome card overall. Excited about it. So we got my guy, Clint MacLean, coming in, getting the job done, man. We're going to get it done. We've got some things to talk about here. So Clint, how you doing? Clint was just throwing in some NHL bets, but Clint, how you doing, man?
Yeah, I'm doing good, man. Thank you. Thank you so much for having me. I'm excited. You and I have been talking for a long time. It's nice to finally jump on camera and be able to chop it up here on one of these fight cards.
All right, awesome, man, awesome. So that is what we're going to do. We're going to waste no time here. We are going to jump into the main event of the evening between Alex Pereira and Jiri Prochazka. So I think I'm going to kick this one off here. I've got a lot to say. And the great thing about any of these shows, your show, other shows, is you're getting different perspectives from a lot of other people. You're getting angles from other people. You make the decision how you feel, whether you're agreeing with me, Clint, or we're both on the same side, we're against each other, whoever it is, we're trying to give you great information. That is what we're looking to do. So we're going to start it off here with Alex Pereira versus Jiri Prochazka. Obviously, we don't need to dive into too much of who these people are. Think we're familiar with them. You've got Pereira on the other side here. He's a elite level kickboxer, stone hands. On the other side here, you've got Jiri Prochazka, well-rounded fighter, explosive, very unorthodox. Now, the one thing here we both know is this could end at any minute. This is one of those fights, big hitters, electrifying, explosive, both of these guys. If you look at what they've done, Jiri, 29 wins, 25 knockouts. Pereira, 8 wins, 6 knockouts. Now, for me here, when I was first diving into this, I didn't really have expectations because, I do like my guy Pereira, but I'm looking to make money. So that's what we're trying to do here. And there were some red flags to me, and I'm going to get your take in a minute, but there definitely were some red flags for me on the Jiri side. And the first one here really is coming in off the brutal shoulder injury. Now, I know that's not a hidden thing. We all know that. That's definitely going to be an issue. That's going to be a situation where we got to look at that, how that's happening. But for me, the recovery time, the surgery time, then getting ready, camp, and all of these kinds of things just make it a little tough for me in a normal setting where if things were all even, everything was the same, apples to apples, I think I would look at this fight a little bit differently. But when you've got a guy coming off that and you've got another guy in Pereira who's been elevating, looking great, done a lot of great things out there. And the part of it also is you add in is the fact that, he is mixing the, I guess it's just tough sledding for him. It's really tough sledding with the injury, with the ring rust. And then you add in, this is probably the toughest opponent that Jiri has had to face. And I know this may be a hot take. This may be a hot take, but I am not sure. I am not that overly impressed with Jiri's run. I mean, I know that's kind of crazy, but I'm not saying he's a slouch by any means. Top of the top. But when you look at it, if you even go back to Ryzen, the 3 fighters that he fought prior to this coming over here was King Mo, Maldonado, Dalloway. If you took their last 4 fights of each of those fighters, they were 3-9. Then he comes into the UFC. Now, this was a great fight for him. Volkan Ozdemir, I got to say, I was leaning towards the Ozdemir side there. He was touching him up. They was touching him up, ended up finishing him in that second round, as in Jiri. The Reyes, 0-4, Dominic Reyes, chinny, shell of himself, not really that impressed with him anymore. The Glover win, I mean, one of the best fights you'll see, but the only thing that kills me here, Clint, is he was 43. Glover was 43 years old, brink of retirement, there were opportunities for both those guys to get that finish. I think stylistically, I have issues with Jiri. He's hittable. He leaves his hands down. He's lackadaisical with his defense. If Glover can touch him up, I really believe that Alex Pereira can land some of those big shots. 40% striking defense for Jiri as well, too. I think this is going to be Alex Pereira via knockout, plus 125. That's where I'm going. Clint, love to hear what you got to say about it.
Yeah, man. So we are going to go head to head here on this one. And I hear absolutely everything that you're saying. And I hear the situation here, and I'll raise you one. You look at the run that Pereira has been on. Andreas Michailidis, That was a gift of a UFC debut. They put him on a silver platter to go ahead and get him in here. They gave him the shortest avenue to Israel Adesanya possible. Bruno Silva, again, another spot where just a nightmare stylistic matchup. And you know what? Bruno gave himself a real good showing in that fight. He gave himself a solid effort and had an argument all the way up into that third round where you could say, man, this guy is pushing Alex Pereira. He's 1-4 since. He's not doing well at the UFC level, and that was a tough fight for Pereira. Now, you could look back at the Sean Strickland win and be like, oh my gosh, that is aged like fine wine. That man's got gold wrapped around his waist now. But it's Sean Strickland. He does the same thing in every single fight, plodding his way forward, chin way up in the air. It was just a matter of time before somebody cracked him with the right shot and put him down. We've seen it before. It just so happened to be the left hand of Pereira that he decided to challenge with his face. And I think if Sean had a rematch, he probably wouldn't do the exact same game plan. Going out on a limb here at Strickland, you never know. But man, the big thing for me here is the Adesanya fights. Now, yes, we've got prime Israel Adesanya. He's at the peak of his powers, and that's when they threw down. But these were primarily kickboxers fighting in a kickboxing fight. This is MMA, man. You got to look. Jiri might have some suspect names, but he's 29-3-1. The MMA experience gap is drastic compared to Alex Pereira's 8-2. Jiri's also the younger fighter here. So yeah, there's some questions coming off of the surgery, coming off of a layoff, but he is the younger fighter that's going to bounce back from that situation, theoretically, better than someone like Alex Pereira will at this stage. And Israel Adesanya, again, a natural kickboxer, in their first fight, was well on his way to winning a 5-round decision. He caused Alex Pereira to tire and to slow down using MMA tactics in that fight. The second fight was over too fast for anything like that to take place. And then when he moved up to 205 pounds, we noticed that, man, all of a sudden that drastic size, that power advantage, that strength, it ain't there anymore. Jan Blachowicz was able to take everything that he had to throw at him, and that was a very competitive fight that ended in a split decision where, frankly, man, I just wasn't impressed. So I don't know that this man translates at 205 the way he did at 185, where he was this monster under the bed. He could knock out anybody with a single punch. It doesn't seem like that has the same effect on these 205ers. And Jiri is a very natural 205-pound monster that's been fighting up at this size his entire career. So I'm going to go with the youth. I'm going to go with the perceived speed. I'm going to go with the well-rounded MMA experience. And let's not forget that the man who he did go to war with and ended up tapping out at the end of the fight was Alex Pereira's daddy, Glover Teixeira, the man who's taught him everything he knows about MMA. I think he's going to go 2-0 against this camp, man. Jiri the King is back. I've got Jiri is my best bet here for this week.
Oh, all right, Clint. And I actually meant to even throw that in there, that he's got Glover on his side. I think that helps, but it's not like an end-all be-all. But it definitely, it's got to help. He's felt him. He's been in there. He's grappled with him. He's struck with him on the feet. You know, he can definitely give some insight that I would think that if, I don't know, Glover's on the other side and Pereira fought him or something shady like, I would think, wow, that's really against Pereira a little bit. But again, we will see how this one goes down. An absolutely awesome matchup here that we will be having. So the next one here we're going to quickly talk about is going to be Tom Aspinall versus Sergey Pavlovich. This one is an absolute banger here. Clint, do you want to jump and take this one first?
Yeah, absolutely. Why not, man? This is a fight where coin flip if I've ever seen one, right? You've got Sergey Pavlovich. This man is taking over as the biggest power puncher in the UFC since Francis Ngannou vacated for the PFL in boxing. So if anyone was going to hold that title, it would be Sergey Pavlovich. Tom Aspinall showed out coming off of an injury. He almost won his fight with the first head kick that he threw coming back. So I think his knee is ready. I think he's good to go. This fight is one of those ones, man, where I know we just got disappointed. You know, last week's main event, the Black Beast, that fight was supposed to be over 3 minutes in, and it ends up going 25 minutes in a boring, grappling fest where, I'm a grappler by nature. I love my jiu-jitsu, but nothing was happening in that fight. This is one where first guy to land wins. You know, these guys have so much speed, so much power. This is a car crash waiting to happen. The only problem for me is that, in my opinion, Sergey Pavlovich is a good hammer and a bad nail. I cannot get the Alistar Overeem fight out of my head. When he didn't immediately knock Alistar Overeem out, he started to slow. He started to tire. And then he was easily dragged to the ground. And these big guys don't like to play jiu-jitsu, man. They don't train much off their backs because they do not enjoy being the nail in those types of positions. He had nothing. He didn't know how to get up. He didn't know how to defend. He didn't even know how to protect himself from that spot. Now, that was years ago. Maybe ATT has done their work and Sergey Pavlovich knows those positions a little better. But Tom Aspinall is a guy who moves like a 155 or up at 265. He knows how to use his speed. He's in, he's out. He makes his opponents miss a lot. And then when he needs to change it up and level change, go to the grappling, drag people to the ground. He's a BJJ black belt. He's got an edge on the ground that I don't think Sergey does. So as much as I think this fight simply comes down to Sergey could land the first punch and end the night, I kind of have to lean here with Tom Aspinall just because of the well-rounded skill set. It's not one I'm super bullish on, man, I'll be honest with you, just because you're fading the nuke of Sergey. I've tried. I've lost money the last 3 fights in a row with guys I thought could outskill him, and they didn't get past 50 seconds. So I don't think I need to necessarily put a lot of money on this fight because Sergey may just take it again within a minute. But I kind of lean towards Tom Aspinall.
Yeah, I have not placed a wager on this yet, but I'm leaning a little bit on the other way, on the Pavlovich side here, and I get it. I mean, a lot of people were all kind of regurgitating kind of that same thing of where Aspinall can take him down, and if he takes him down, fight could be over. And that is 100% true. We've seen what he can do. You've seen his level changes against Volkov and, you know, how he pulled back and quickly, you know, ducked down, got the takedown. Those are the things that, like, to your point, is you just don't see heavyweights move that way. It's just the next level of heavyweights that are kind of coming in, that you've got these guys that just can move. It's almost like linemen in the NFL. They used to be fat slobs. Now they're jacked and they're explosive. They can move around, and whatever they're doing, it's working. And that kind of is almost Aspinall, where it's like, it doesn't even make sense how he can move that way. The only issue here, again, I'm kind of saying something that kind of we talked about in the last fight, was the first thing is the short notice. You know, I kind of feel like that's a little bit under the rug a little bit, because, you know, it's almost as if Pavlovich is coming in on short notice too, because it's like, hey, this is a new fight. This is a new thing. And I kind of look at that as, you know, we all know that he was, you know, the guy waiting in the wings, Pavlovich waiting between Stipe and Jones. And you've got that. Then you've got on the other side of it, you've got that, you know, Aspinall coming off a knee injury. Now, all accounts, it somewhat sounds like, hey, this is good. The only thing that I thought was very, very interesting was the first episode of Embedded, where they had him, he was walking backwards on the treadmill and openly saying, hey, this helps the pain go away. This helps, you know, the pain. And that, to me, it just says you're not fully healed. I mean, listen, I'm sure he's, you know, maybe 90% or whatever it is, but for him to even be walking backwards saying, hey, this helps it out, it loosens it up, and he kept talking about the pain, that to me is just, man, if somebody kicks that knee, or is he going to be as explosive? You know, is he going to have that explosivity, looking for takedowns, looking for level changes? So that kind of makes me worry. And then you've got the 6-inch reach advantage for Sergey, mixing in with the power. It's very tough. And that part of it, I've been battling with myself, kind of saying, hey, is he going to get that takedown, or is he going to land the big bomb? And again, we're all saying that. But I lean towards the Pavlovich side via knockout, plus 125. I think that's kind of the sweet spot there. I'm not one that's going to throw the rounds in. I mean, you know, obviously I think it could be a first or second, but I would be more comfortable just saying, hey, if he clips his chin, I'll take that plus money. I'll be happy with it. So that's kind of where I'm sitting this now. So I'm going to be going Pavlovich via knockout, plus 125. All right.
I think that's fair,
and the next.
Has Pavlovich ever thrown a leg kick, though?
Leg kick, just
I don't
kick.
I don't even know if he's ever done it.
That is true, but I think ATT also. I think they got to be helping him out. They got to be mixed. This guy is so talented, you know. But again, we shall see how that all pans out. A fantastic co-main event. So the other one here we're going to be talking about here is Mackenzie Dern minus 215 versus Jessica Andrade plus 164. So this one here, I have looked at it. I have dove into it. I probably have too much to say on this particular fight, and I'm not even sure why. But I look at this fight here, and it's kind of the same thing where you look at Dern, and we're all kind of talking about, hey, Dern got some takedowns. She got some control time. She did all these things, and we're kind of talking that up. But if you look at the body of work, 15% takedown success rate, not very good. Over her last 3 fights, she was 4 for 25. And that is almost supposed to be what we're hanging her hat on and saying, hey, look how good she did. I mean, that's not that great. It's really not that great. Again, she may need 1 takedown and she may just wash her on the ground and the fight could be over. But I don't really buy into that fully. Andrade, 70% takedown defense rate. I think that's going to be there. The other part of it is her finish rate. Dern is known as this lethal person on the ground, and 100% she is. But she's kind of done that to the lower tier MMA fighters. Last time she did that was Nina Nunes back in 2021. Before that was like Ronda Marcos, Hannah Cyphers. I mean, these are bottom, and I get it. She should do that to those people. She was able to do that. But as she moved up, she has not really done that. She hasn't really had that. And arguably, she could be 1-3 out of her last 4 with that split decision against Tecia Torres. I thought Tecia won. But she could be 1-3 out of it. Would this line even be close to minus 215 if she went on a 0-3 run and then beat Angela Hill? I mean, we probably wouldn't think that when you're looking at Jessica Andrade, who former champion, the takedown defense, big, powerful. And I think also it's slightly overstated about Andrade and her being over. I'm not buying into that completely. She's 32 and I get it. And it all sounds amazing where we can say, hey, she's she hasn't looked good. But again, look who she's fought. I mean, Erin Blanchfield, short notice, Jan Shonan, and Tatiana Suarez. These are 3 females that will be fighting for titles at some point. There's no doubt about it. They are up there. They have the ability to do that. Those females, if you took all of their UFC fights together, that's 23 fights. They're 21-2. Like, these aren't women that have been losing since they've got to the UFC. So she's not losing to these bottom feeders or these, she's getting these easy setup matches. Plus, prior to that, she had 3 wins, three wins in a row. The people that she lost to for the last 7 years was also Joanna Jędrzejczyk, Valentina Shevchenko, Rose Namajunas, and Weili Zhang. Now, I know that starts to go back a little bit, but this is who she's losing to. I don't put Dern there. I would rather take the plus money here. Dog or pass spot for me. Haven't placed a bet, but I do lean the Jessica Andrade side at plus 164. What do you got there, Clint?
Man, you said it all. This one's a really tough fight to call, in my opinion. So I plugged my nose and I faded the Jessica Andrade counter hype or whatever you want to call it right now. People telling her that she's hung it up, she's shot, she's done. I tried against Yan Xiaonan, and that right hand thunderous KO, I was like, oh boy, okay, I'm the one who's wrong. She is in fact done. And then Tatiana Suarez did the exact same thing to her. And I really wanted to look at Andrade and find a reason to back her and get on this, because you're right. I mean, man, honestly, the last 2 fights back to back, I think the numbers have been a little disrespectful of Andrade's skill set and what she's done. But like I said on my podcast, I feel like Jessica Andrade has hit Bob Sapp territory, man. She'll try hard for 5 minutes. That's it. If she's not winning the fight within that first 5 minutes, she will pack her bag and go home. The question for me is simply, does Mackenzie Dern have that dog? Because like you said, she has not been tested at this level. Yan Xiaonan, common opponent, obviously. I personally think highly of Tecia Torres, and that fight was the best I think Ticia's ever looked, surprisingly. So I don't hold that one against her, and I believe the way that first round went, where she had the backpack rear naked choke position, I think a lot of lesser fighters would have ended up tapping in that situation. So nothing but a tip of the cap from me over here to Tecia Torres. And the Angela Hill fight, she may be a gatekeeper at this point, but that's another one that has ended up smelling like roses, because she's on a bit of a tear at the moment, derailing hype trains left and right. So I think this is just the natural evolution of Mackenzie Dern. And the reason she hasn't looked quite so spectacular recently, I feel, is because she's been rounding out her game. She's no longer just getting quick taps. She's getting her striking going. She looks like she's developed some nasty little power. She had Angie's face welted up like we haven't seen in a long time, man. So this girl is becoming a fully well-rounded mixed martial artist at this stage of her career. I have to lean Mackenzie Dern. I don't like the price tag, but I have a feeling that she's going to take that next step, and this is that next step to me. So I'm going to pick Dern, but this is another one, man, where because I don't like the number, I'm not going to bet it. I kind of have to side with the favorite.
Would you go method? Would you think a method here?
I've kind of thought about that, actually. Yeah. And I would say the sub seems to be ripe picking for Jessica Andrade. That's where she's struggling recently, especially up at 125, where she's facing bigger women, stronger women than her physically. I know this fight is happening at 115 pounds, so maybe it's a little bit more competitive in that area. But while Andrade is a black belt, Dern is world class. So I do think eventually, if it hits the ground, Dern will find her way to a top position and then end the fight in that fashion. I might get a little degenerate and go with like a round 3 sprinkle or something like that, though. Thinking the fight goes long, maybe Andrade wears down a little bit, and then Dern is able to take advantage of a grappling exchange. Not early, though, because I think it'll be one-way traffic striking early for Andrade. So maybe a live entry on Mackenzie Dern, maybe a prop bet, something like that for me. I just can't stand to lose my money on Jessica Andrade again, man. I don't have it in me.
Hey, I mean, like I agree with it. I just the caliber. I'm like, man, this is a high level caliber she loses to. But to your point, Dern could be that next caliber that's coming up, rounding out her game, getting striking better, getting takedowns easier, and all that. If she gets that together, she can be ruthless if it gets to that point, but we shall see. So again, we're kind of leaning here on the other side here again, me and Clint. The last one here.
Not strongly.
The last one here we're going to go over here is Benoit Saint-Denis minus 245 against Matt Frevola plus 190. So in this spot here, you got two guys willing to go forward, willing to throw, comfortable in chaos, want to just go absolutely nuts with both of them. And I get it. I get that, and also, Saint-Denis has looked like a murderer as well. He just will take a brick to the face, keep moving forward. He just does not care. Now, I think one of the things here that we know is going to possibly happen here is these takedowns, looking for these takedowns, aggressively smothering him, looking to do all that. And I think that's absolutely possible. Great wrestler, durable, will put out a good pace, will get in your face. Now, the other part of it here that, we saw, he ran through Bonfim, he ran through Thiago Moises. Absolutely impressive performances from both of them. Now, the vulnerability would be on the Matt Frevola side with the takedowns, 36% takedown defense rate. I think that's a little overstated just because against Arman Tsarukyan, he went 10 for 12 on him, and that'll screw up a number for you there. But he went out there, he was able to get the takedowns, able to get some control time. But I also did like early what Frevola was doing when it was coming to just scrambling, trying to get back to his feet. He was aggressive with it, but Tsarukyan is just an animal. I don't put his wrestling to where Benoit is. They're obviously both high level, but Tsarukyan and just his positioning and just his level changing and control from the top position, I think is a little bit better when you're talking about that. Now, the other part of it's going to be on the feet here. I really like Frevola on the feet. I mean, I know a lot of people kind of talk him down and say he's kind of sloppy. He can be wild, these kinds of things. And that could be possible too, in certain situations. But I think he's pretty technical. I think if you look back years ago, I mean, he is another fighter, in my opinion. I mean, he was almost like going forward and that whole thing, blocking punches with his face, throwing, and he wasn't able to really do too much. Now he's crafted it. He's gotten much better. I think his body looks better. I think he's definitely in just better shape overall. He's cut. He looks big. And that, to me, is start of it. Now, the other part of it's going to be that Benoit does not block punches very well. 44% striking defense rate. I think if this fight stays on the feet, I really think that Frevola has a shot here. Now, again, this is a spot. I didn't place a wager yet, but I do lean when you're talking about a plus 190. I think this should be, Benoit is definitely the rightful favorite. I think it's too wide here. I would lean Frevola. Wouldn't pick a method here, but I would lean Frevola in this spot plus 190. What do you think there, Clint?
Yeah, man. Again, I got to kind of tip my hat to you with the breakdown, and I agree with most of the points that you're selling with me here. And I think Frevola, a lot of people may say he's a little wild. A lot of people may say he's a little reckless, but he almost reminds me almost of a Brandon Royval. This man thrives in the chaos. He
Yeah.
might be going wild out there, but he knows exactly what he's doing. The problem is Saint-Denis does the same thing. Both of these guys cause action and they are ready for what comes next. Their opponents aren't. So this is going to be another barn burner, in my opinion, because both these guys only know one direction, and that's forward. I feel like Matt Frevola is probably a more technical wrestler than Benoit Saint-Denis is. The problem for me is the size discrepancy. Benoit Saint-Denis is the god of war for a reason. He did not look out of place at 170 pounds. This man is massive. He's going to be huge in there compared to Matt Frevola. I'm a huge fan of the steamroller, man, and I would love to see him get his hand raised on Saturday. The problem is, I think if these guys go chin for chin, Benoit Saint-Denis is just a little bigger. He's just a little stronger, and I think he's a little bit more durable. I know it's been a while since we've seen Matt Frevola really get chin checked, but the couple times we have seen it, he crumpled. And I know Terrence McKinney hits like an absolute truck, but at the same time, it was like a jab that put him down. It was not a big bomb that he landed that put him down. It was a quick little shot, and that was it. It was over. I have a feeling that this is going to be another, not quite to the same extent as the co-main event, obviously, but another who lands first type of situation, because Benoit Saint-Denis blocks punches with his face. He comes forward without any care to what's coming back at him, and eventually that's going to cause a problem. Somebody who swings as hard.
At some point.
At some point. Somebody who swings as hard as Matt Frevola. We just saw him take out the Crimson Chin, Drew Dober, in his last fight. He could be the man to finally crack Benoit Saint-Denis. But honestly, man, I got to see it before I'm going to believe it. I've been on the Benoit Saint-Denis hype train. I have been the commander of this army. I've been tooting the horn the whole way and betting him on every single fight. So I can't hop off that now. I can't be the guy that suddenly flips and takes the plus money on the other side. I think the line is a little bit wide. At the end of the day, I do think the size difference will matter, and I think the durability of Benoit Saint-Denis is kind of what's going to shine through here. I think taking the fight to end by KO, fight doesn't go the distance, those are probably better moves than necessarily picking a side here. But my official prediction is BSD by knockout.
Oh, all right, all right. There you have it. A lot of information here. Now, do what you want, because me and Clint are on the completely different sides of pretty much everything in this spot here. Hey, that's sports betting for you right there. So I appreciate it, Clint. I appreciate you coming on today, man, getting it done, giving information here. Check Clint out, Die Hard Podcast. Oh, hold on.
I appreciate you, my friend.
Hold
Thank
on.
you for having me.
We got a round of shots coming.
Oh, he came prepared.
You gotta have this. You gotta have it on tap, Clint. Let's cash it this weekend, buddy. Let's cash this weekend.
Cheers, my friend.
All righty. What a way to end this. All right, I am excited. I will be in the building this Saturday, fired up. Going to be posting some good stuff there on Twitter when I'm there at the arena, all that good stuff. So, again, check Clint out, Die Hard MMA Podcast on Twitter. We're going to do this again sometime soon. Clint, thanks for coming on, man.
Absolutely, man. Thank you for having me. I'm jealous of you going to the event, but I'm sure you'll cash some tickets, and I'll be rooting for you.
All right, man. Sounds good. And we will see you next week. Let's cash. See you next week.